Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Janice Our Love. And does it seem like we are now living in a world where manners don't matter anymore? Well, stay tuned as we talk with our guest today, Malika Williams, about the fact that manners do matter. And don't forget to subscribe. Button. This is Asking for a Sister Friend, and we come every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, where we meet with experts and professionals in order to help you to grow and learn as an individual, especially if you are a woman. All right, so tonight we are going to be talking about manners still matter. So let me introduce you to our guest for today. She's originally from Northern California, but she is definitely a Southern girl, having spent most of her time in Lebanon, Tennessee. She's a graduate of Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, and she has an MBA from the University of Phoenix. Now, during the daytime, it looks like she hangs out with the fire department, and she's an executive in human resources. But the real deal is that she is the founder and the CEO of Malika Saban Consulting LLC and Excuse Me Please Etiquette, which was founded in 2003. Now, during the pandemic, she wrote a book. She wrote a children's book, which is called Time to Eat: A First Look at Table Manners. She wrote that in the summer of 2021. Now she does so many things in the little bit of spare time she does, being an executive and running her own agency. She does seminars such as the art of introductions, essential manners. She helps people who are public speakers. She does dining and etiquette kinds of teachings to help us have the proper manners that we have. So, welcome to the stage, everyone, Malika Williams.
Good evening, Dr. Love, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I am humbled and honored that you sought me out of all people, so I'm grateful. So thank you.
Well, it was divine intervention that we met in the first place.
Yes.
I was at work one day, you were visiting a friend, and once I heard about some of the things that you were doing and just your life story, I was like, I love this woman. So I am going to stay connected. So I dug through everything I could find to find you so that I could bring you to meet our guest for today. So, we're going to be talking about the fact that manners still matter.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, how did you get into doing this?
Really, it was birthed just from the way I was reared. My mom was pretty much like the African American June Cleaver, and so we went to all type of charm schools, etiquette schools, things of those nature. My mom's motto was, "We are not a that-a-do family." So
Mhm.
we could, the standard was the standard. We could never go below the standard, and so that's I think when I was first introduced to it. And to be honest, even before then, my grandmother, her job at the time was cleaning homes for people.
Okay.
And so she learned manners by watching those that she served by cleaning. And then she would come home and teach my mother and my mom's, siblings. And so it's just kind of a passed down thing. But originally I was living in New Jersey, attending a church there. And the first lady asked me if I would do tea etiquette. And I thought, well, sure. They had an afternoon tea for the ladies of the ministry. And so I did, and it was great. And I didn't think anything about it. I just thought, well, that was fun. And then that just kind of began to snowball because the first lady of the ministry started asking me to do a little bit more and a little bit more. And then people heard about it. And then it just kind of birthed into a business because really it's a passion for me. I think it's so important to represent yourself well so that you can get that seat at the table that you deserve. And a lot of times we miss out on that because we're just not trained properly. And I'm not saying you have to be prim and proper all the time. If you're at home having a girls' night, that's totally different. But we need to have those tools in our pocket so we can pull them out and represent our best self when the opportunity presents.
Definitely nothing like a first lady to ask you to do something, right? You can't say no, right? And so, and so that births something beautiful. Again, when we think about manners and etiquette, are manners and etiquette going down the tubes? Where is it going? Is it
Well, that's funny you asked that. I get asked that question quite a bit, and it is a lost art. I don't want to say it's gone away. What I want to say is people just aren't comfortable teaching it or even talking about it because it is not in the forefront of society right now. I will say, though, that it definitely opens doors for you. You may think you're not getting the role because you don't have the credentials, but it may have been the way that you introduced yourself. It may have been the way you walked in the room. It may be the way that at a networking function, you didn't know how to maneuver and hold your plate and your glass and shake hands and be able to interact without having to stop and put stuff down. It could be that. It also could be that you're not properly using Ms., Mrs., and Miss. So there's a lot of things that sometimes knock us down a notch that we're not even aware of. But those persons of status, those persons that are CEOs and can make those decisions, they're aware of them, but we're not.
okay? So
So
so manners is more than picking up the right utensils at the table, right?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge gamut. My workshops, like you said, they range from, introducing yourself properly, which I call my elevator speech class, because in the event you get on the elevator with the CEO of a company, of an industry you want to get into, you only have from floor to floor to sell yourself. So it's important to have that, those tools, and it can go all the way from having a bad day at school. I do that for kids, bullying.
Mhm.
Some kids are traumatized when they begin to lose their teeth. So I do classes on that. So it's a whole gamut of things. And as you said before, proper introductions, writing thank you notes, because that's a lost art
Mm.
also. So it's a big basket full of stuff.
So nowadays, when you're out and about, and cell phones just kind of did something that I don't know, right?
I agree.
So what is probably your pet peeve? What's your worst pet peeve when it comes to manners? What is that?
I have two. And it could be just I'm soft spoken, but I hate. Well, I don't say hate. I It bothers me when people speak extremely loud unnecessarily.
Okay.
So that is the one. The other is when they are on their phones
Mm,
unnecessarily, in the line checking out. Go ahead and check out. Interact with that person who has taken that job to check you out and to give you great customer service. And then whoever that is, you can call them right back, because to me, no one is that busy. Now I get it. If it's an emergency, something has happened, you have to shoot off and do. I totally get that. But none of us are the president of the United States. None of us are Jesus Christ.
right.
It's we could take a couple minutes. So that is the main thing. Now, for the younger generation, what grinds my gears is the young ladies with the pajama pants on and the hair bonnets,
Mhm.
just not representing themselves well. And then they wonder why the men treat them the way they do. They also wonder why they're not getting the opportunities that are afforded to some other. That's what bothers me with the young men. It's the sagging pants and the
Mhm.
hair. That is, it's just kind of, even if you're going to do the locks, that's fine, but maintain them. Maintain them. So
Right.
we've lost a sense of presenting our best self and being well kept and put together and polished and poised. And again, you don't have to be boring to be that. I think
Right.
I'm a lot of fun, but I do know I do have manners. So we've just gotten too far, away from being concerned about our appearance and just presenting our best self.
Definitely. I know my husband. I asked him, what bothers you about manners? He says when people walk in front of you and don't say excuse me. He said
Yeah.
that was a big thing for him. But I'm with you when it comes to our appearance, our personal appearance. I was raised where I couldn't even go outside and hang clothes on the line with rollers in my hair. My mom would make us take our rollers out
Oh my
to
goodness.
go hang clothes on the line. That that didn't make any sense to me. And I
Right.
remember when our very first plane ride,
Okay.
we literally had to wear our Easter dresses
Mm. I
because it was
I
a
can
big
relate.
deal to fly back
Right.
then. And we had to put on our Easter dresses to fly. And
Okay.
now when you get on the airplane, again, you might be next to somebody who is in their pajamas, right?
You see
But
everything.
full gear, durag, everything. Somebody who is, and so do you think people just have not been taught, or do you think people have come to a point where they just don't care anymore because nobody can tell me what to do?
I think it's twofold, really. A lot of it is that they haven't been taught. What I have learned teaching this for so long is that it's passed down generation to generation.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of the parents don't know. Maybe their parents
Mhm.
didn't know, so they didn't train them to be polished and represent their best self. And so then they pass that
Mhm.
on. And so it's kind of a generational thing. And that's why I decided to start with writing a children's book, although I teach adults and children. But if I can get them early, in those
Mhm.
first 5 years is when most habits are formed. They're kind of really
Mhm.
observant in those years. And so if we can grab them early and begin to train them, I will say the younger I teach, the faster they retain it, sometimes
Wow.
even faster than adults.
Mhm.
It's new. They don't have anything else to compare it to or anything to unlearn, for lack of a
Mhm.
better term. So I just think, again, it's a lost art. Parents aren't comfortable teaching it just because
Mhm.
it's not, common. I mean, they'll do the normal please and thank you, but we've even gotten lax with that, to be honest with you.
I totally agree. I know that a lot of that I got in church.
Hmm.
That there was certain protocol and a certain way you dressed for church, certain way you acted at
That's
church,
right.
and you would hear it from somebody, one of the mothers or mom would send somebody back there to straighten us up if
That's
we weren't
right.
acting right. But even so, I'm gonna tell you a little known Black history fact,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That when I was in college, I had won a leadership award. You're an AKA, it's my
I
soror.
am. Yeah.
I had won a leadership award. And so what we were able to do was spend a summer with a congressman.
Oh,
And
great.
so I have won a leadership award. And so the summer before we went to be with the congressman, I was with Congressman Bill Clay from Missouri.
Okay.
And the summer before, we had to go to Boston and spend the whole week learning etiquette.
Wow.
Yes, the
Really?
AKAs flew us out to Boston. I got to stay in a nice hotel room and everything. And they literally taught us etiquette. They taught us how to talk. We when we were up there, we might run into the president. We might
Right.
see a lot of influential people. We were writing letters, so it was not just about how to eat. It was about communication, how to dress, how to present yourself, how simply just to be polite to people. And I am so glad I had that opportunity. But when I think about my own children, whatever they get from me. Seriously.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And yeah, and so we talk about pet peeves. But one of mine is the phone at the table. I do not allow phones at the table, and I do not allow rags on your head at the table.
Right.
Respect the food, right? Respect
Right.
the food. Anyway, so look, I digress. I digress. I start talking about my experiences. So as we talk about, I know the work that you do with kids, and I love what you're doing with kids because, again, if we don't catch them early, we're going to
Right.
miss them. But
Mhm.
you actually get women who come to you for various reasons, such as a career, if they are interested in growing in their career. Tell me about some of the things you do with individuals.
Yeah, so pretty much the main thing that most women of corporate America or big industries are trying to or come to me for is just building that self-confidence to introduce themselves properly, and to be able to have that conversation in a business form and just be really comfortable, because usually if you're comfortable you will always present your best self. Like, for
Mhm.
example, if you're good at whatever it may be, teaching, preaching, speaking, when someone asks you to do it, of course, you're going to be a little bit of nerves will be there, but you're going to come out the gate and do the best. And so that is what a lot of the biggest thing that I have found surprises women is, one is how you introduce yourself. As a child, we were taught to say, "My name is."
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we were taught that way is because when you're a child, you're learning your name, you're learning your address, you learn those type of things. And so that just carried on. But in corporate America, saying my name is, it kind of, well, it's just a sure sign that you haven't really been taught how to properly introduce yourself. In corporate America, and I use it anywhere, I just don't use it in corporate America, but you always say, I am Malika Williams. You never say my name is. I am says to the person you're meeting, especially if they know, the caliber and they have manners and kind of know that you are confident in who you are and you are prepared for whatever. So just that simple I am speaks volume about your character, about who you are, about your confidence level. So I have a lot of women, that's kind of hard for them because they've been trained for so long to say my name, my name, my name. Even the name tags they print out say my name, and then
My
you write
name is right.
you right. Yes. So it's I am. It's always I am. The other thing that I get is Ms., meaning MISS. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you're not sure if someone's married. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have MRS, and that is someone is married. But in the corporate world, you always say Ms. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the MS, but the S sounds out like a Z. The reason you say Ms. in corporate America is because a lot of time with women and men in a corporate America, we are not always on the same level. And
Right.
if they know you are single, that brings
Mm-hmm.
you down even further sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a male-dominated industry. Now, this is not always, so I don't want all the corporations to write and say this is always. This is not always. I'm just saying what I have learned through studies and so forth. But if you say Ms., then that they don't know who, what you are, but they know that you are respected. And so in
Yeah.
corporate arena, you say Ms. Doesn't matter whether they're married, not married, whatever, you just say Ms. because that puts everybody on the same playing field. And that's what we have to do in corporate America. So those are just a few things. And then the last thing that I get all the time is networking skills.
Hmm.
A
Okay.
couple of
Close
ladies.
enough.
Yeah, so networking, that's a big thing in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And even, like if you're in clubs or so forth, sororities or what have you, networking is very, very popular. So I do that class probably the most out of all classes. And what a lot of people don't know is if you're very hungry, if you haven't eaten that day and you go to a networking event, best thing to do is go, get your food from the table and just kind of stand adjacent from the table and go ahead and eat because you're really hungry. So go
Okay.
ahead and eat and get through all of that and then begin to work the room. You can get a glass of water or maybe just a little piece of dessert, then begin to work the room because then you can again really be into what
Mm-hmm.
you're into the person that you're speaking with, interaction with everybody, and you're not trying to eat and do two
Mm-hmm.
things at one time. So that's a big thing. And then the other thing is, even if you've eaten and kind of worked the room, always kind of come back near that table, not too close to it because you want people to be able to get to it, but that's where mostly everybody is going to come.
Ah.
And so you'll be able to have a good opportunity. If there's like one person you really, really want to get to, they'll
Mm-hmm.
eventually come over there, so that you don't seem like you're chasing
I
people.
love that. I love
So
it. I
those
wouldn't
are
even
the
think
things that-
about that. Because I'm always just so focused on making sure I don't have food in my teeth, right? I didn't even think about the other things. If you are hungry, go ahead and eat
That's
and then
right.
get around. So what recommendation would you make for the shy person? Because even though I'm out here talking all the time, I am really a shy person, and networking events
Really?
are really hard for me. I
Oh
mean,
my
seriously, they
goodness.
are really hard for me because I'm really a shy person. And so, what tip would you give for someone who is really shy and just kind of nervous about that kind of thing?
Yeah. So normally for those individuals who are shy, although I am shocked that you said you're shy because that's the last thing I would have ever
I
thought. But
am.
okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. But what I always say is give yourself a goal. Almost make it a game.
Okay.
Okay, so I have to meet 2 people today, or I have to meet 3 people today, or I have to at least, because then if you speak to those 2 or 3, and if you're still not comfortable, at least you have met your goal. If you
Okay.
give yourself just a little goal, Usually they're comfortable, even if it's just two. But what I have found is from a lot of my clients, although I'll say, okay, you're going to have to meet, you're going to have to at least go up and introduce yourself to two persons, and don't always exchange business cards unless they really ask for them, because most likely they're not going to use them.
Right.
Nowadays, a lot of people are doing the digital card.
Mhm.
Through your phone. And those are good too. I'm a little leery of those because if somebody is in the tech field, they can backdoor that and sometimes get a whole lot of your information. So,
Oh,
yes, so I give it to those that I really, really know, and know well. But I always say just at least two people. But what I have found is a lot of my clients will call and say, Malika, I ended up talking to like 7 people or 5 people.
I
So you
love it. I
set
am going to
yourself a
use
goal.
that. I am
Yes.
going to use that. Definitely. I love it. I love it. So now when we were talking before, you
Yes.
also told me that occasionally you get a woman who is maybe in a new relationship and wants to make sure that she has her stuff together. Tell me a little bit about how you work with in those kinds of situations.
Right. So either it's a young man who is taking a lady to dinner and wants to be comfortable at the table
Mhm.
and not embarrass himself. So I do a lot of table etiquette for men. That's kind of more for men, but for ladies, it quite a few things we work on. But the main ones are getting in and out of the car like a lady. A lot of women aren't aware how to do that properly, how to come down a stairwell like a lady.
Wait,
Again,
wait, wait. Stop there.
yes.
Come down the stairwell like a lady. Tell me
Have you
about
ever
that.
have
I
you
know you
ever
can't demonstrate, but tell me.
have you ever seen someone or you're coming down the stairs and someone else is coming behind you and all you hear is
Mhm,
like a
mhm,
horse? Right.
mhm.
That's because they're not coming down the stairwell gracefully. If you hold the rail and point your body towards the rail, so you're kind of coming down sideways,
Okay.
because you're stepping side, you're going to step softer like a lady.
Oh,
Okay.
well, I go sideways just so I won't trip in heels or something, right? But
Right.
that's the graceful way to do it.
Yes, because if you come down forward, your
Mhm,
body weight is, and that's why you start that clumping, real hard. Have you ever noticed when you come down, as you get to the end, all of a sudden you're kind of like running?
mhm, mhm.
It's because the body weight has caught up with you. So if you turn to the side, it's a little bit more evenly distributed, and you always hold the rail all the way down to the end.
I've always imagined myself like on a cruise ship coming
Okay.
down this long stairway and flowing dress and making sure that I'm doing it gracefully. Even
Yes,
there's so just your walk makes a
exactly.
difference.
It
So you
does.
ever had to teach somebody how to walk?
I have. I do a few pageant classes, helping young ladies learn to walk in heels for Jack and Jill and
Mhm.
different sororities and cotillions and things of that nature. But yes, I do quite a bit of walking because it's important that your silhouette that you present is the same silhouette when you leave.
Mhm,
Because if you've
mhm.
captured someone's attention entering the room, you're definitely going to capture it leaving because they're going to be like, I've got to get to know who that person is. So, yes,
Mhm,
walking is a very important. Posture is huge.
mhm.
Nowadays, everybody's doing this all
Right.
the time. And so, even a lot of people dying, they come down to their food. No, bring the food to you. Now, you can lean in, but you don't come down to your food. But we do a lot of that. A lot of young children eat
Mhm.
fast.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so it's, so posture has a lot to do with everything. If your posture is right, your food will even digest faster.
Wow, I love it. I love it. So let's go back to this young woman who needs to
Okay.
learn how to get into a car. Um, so what so so women should expect manners from men as well. So for
Uh,
instance, when my husband and I, even if we go to the gym and we're getting ready to go, he puts my jacket on. He helps me into my jacket.
mhm.
Whenever we're out to eat or whenever we go to the car, he opens doors for me
Yeah.
and those kinds of things. Have men forgotten about those manners or are women not expecting them anymore? What's going on with that? Because I see a lot of women just jumping in the car. They don't even think twice about whether or not the man should open the door for them.
Exactly. So we as women have gotten away from setting the guidelines of how
Mhm.
we want to be treated because you teach people how to treat you. I have
Mm-hmm.
always, believed that you teach people how to treat you. And so, there was a guy I was dating some time ago. It's a very long time ago, but I remember just standing at the car door, and he went on in and got in. And so I just sat, I'm just standing at the door. And so he looked over and said, "You coming?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to come get my door." He came around, and I explained to him, my father gets my door.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. From a very small age. My dad still gets my
Wow.
door.
I love it.
So I don't have, there's no other expectation. And if that's too much, that's okay. Let's just go our separate ways. But we have just stopped not allowing, but we've stopped asking that of men. And we've got to get back to that. There's a level of respect that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a level of, I believe, any woman who just ask for those simple things. It's not, it's that
Mm-hmm.
it costs a lot of money, or it's not that it's hard, but I do believe that it makes the man in your life, or the person you're interacting with, really honor and respect you, because we have so many women who don't, they don't care, and so, and again, it has to do with the type of relationship you want,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Exactly.
That I'm gonna
Exactly.
leave that right there. It's just
So I
what you
can't help
want.
but think about, as you're talking, I couldn't help but think about was Steve Harvey's movie that act like a woman, think like a man, whatever it was. And again, so many times we allow ourselves to be disrespected
Yeah,
because, again, maybe it's something they haven't had before, whatever. But if you know what proper things are to be done,
exactly,
and how you are to be respected, then
exactly.
you demand that. You
Yeah,
demand that. I love it. I
yeah,
love
and
it.
it has a lot to do with self-esteem and
Mhm,
self-respect, and you
mhm,
get that from manners too, because
mhm.
what I have found is having good manners makes you extremely unique. Not a
Exactly.
lot of people have that, and so
Exactly.
once you get those manners and you begin to build that confidence and realize what a rare gem you are in
Mhm.
in a chest of jewels, then you carry yourself differently. You do.
Exactly.
You'll be able to notice you're walking a room and command the atmosphere, and it's simply because you're confident.
Exactly. So I wanted to just kind of share
Okay.
that the way we met.
Yes.
And again, I learned about your etiquette information, but I also learned a lot about your life story. So as you talked about that you when you were dating a little while ago or whatever, I it just reminds me of a gift that you have inside you that has nothing to do with etiquette, but something that God chose for you.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so, can you share a little bit about your work with women who have lost their husbands? Can you share a little
Sure.
bit about
Absolutely. Be honored to. So I started a company called From Tissues to Triumph. And December 12th, 2014, the words I heard from a physician was, it was as if someone turned the lights off.
that? Hmm.
And in that moment, the lights in my life went off. My husband suddenly had a massive heart attack. He was very healthy and in great shape, but had a massive heart attack and transitioned immediately. And so this was only after 14 months of being married. So, yes, I was a newlywed. And so, you go through all the emotions, the
Mhm.
why, the shock, all the things. And so did that. But I'm so grateful for my mother, who was adamant about me starting counseling within 2 weeks.
Okay.
I will say, though, the first probably 3 or 4 visits of counseling, it was a 16-week program. I didn't say a mumbling word. And I didn't, because there was a lot of things going on, trauma. I
Mhm.
was angry at God. And although I love God and I know He's a good God, this wasn't good. And so I was having a hard time with that. And so I thought, well, let me just be quiet because I don't have anything to say. I would pray for others, but I didn't
Mhm.
have anything to say, to God, because I know He's an intentional God. So that meant
Mhm.
that He intentionally took my husband. So I had to work through that. But in that, I remember the day that I found out my husband had transitioned. My mentor was with me. And she said, as we were in the hospital room, she said, "This is bigger than you." Well, at
Mhm.
that time, I'm thinking,
Mhm.
lady, what? You know,
Right.
I don't even know my name right now. So what are you saying? But I do realize that as time went on, I would have people call me, people I don't even know, and say,
Mhm.
my friend, lost her husband, or, my friend lost his wife, can they call you and talk to you and kind of walk you through that? And at first, I used to be like, no, no, because I'm thinking I haven't gone to school and been certified for. But one of my counselors, who is absolutely the best, I have to connect you guys because
Mhm.
she's definitely good for your platform.
Okay.
But her name is Dr. Crystal Pinnick, and she is a grief and mental health counselor, and she is phenomenal. Between
Wow.
her and God, they are the only reason that joy was restored, and I realized there's life after loss. But I remember Crystal telling me, you don't have to always have a certification or go to a
Right.
graduate school because you have experience. And
Exactly.
and that is often, more than any type of certificate or anything you could get.
Right.
So I decided to throw a day party for widows. I didn't want it to be a sad thing. I mean, we shed a few tears, but
Mhm.
it's really just celebrating. I have a makeup artist, a masseuse. I have a lady there who talks about finances, because sometimes when you lose, part of the financial structure of your home, the ladies or men are left trying to figure out, okay, how am I going
Right.
to do all of this? And then I had a masseuse there. I had, people to buy, sell little jewelries and, stuff
Mhm.
that ladies like. And it was great. And then we had a little food and stuff. And then at the end, I had balloons and wrote our loved one's name on the balloons and released them.
Wow.
And so then it just kind of birthed from there. And I used to run from it. People would
Mhm.
ask me to come to their churches and tell my story. And I would say, no, no, no. But I have finally, I know for a fact that Danny would want me to be happy and to give back and to live life. And so I have decided to lift my life above the tragedy. And I
Mhm.
have decided to live over the moon happy every day. And I realize that I don't have to forget it, but I have
Mhm.
to accept it. Until you accept it, healing can't come. It just can't. And so a lot of women just kind of relish in it. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if you really want to be healed, you don't have to forget it.
Mhm.
I will never forget Danny. Never,
Mhm.
never. It's just like your preschool best friend. Mine
Mhm.
was her name was Inga. You still remember your preschool
Right.
best friend, or,
Mhm.
or a friend, from
Mhm.
school, from childhood. So you'll never forget them, but you have to accept it. And that takes some time. But once you accept it, one thing about widowhood, it makes you compassionate for others surrounding loss. I don't care if it's
Mhm.
loss of a
Right.
spouse, loss of a job, loss
Mhm.
of a relationship, somebody you were dating. It makes you sensitive to that. And so I just don't help widows. I, kind of help all of those who are going through loss, and just kind of give them some structure to get through it. So that's what I do.
God, that is such a blessing. And again, when I first heard what you were doing, I was like, I got to bring this into the conversation, even though we've been talking about etiquette and
That's
manners. We
okay.
got to bring this in the conversation, because at some point you're gonna after you write this book, you're gonna come back and you're gonna have a conversation with me about that. So
Okay.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm look at me putting you on notice right now that we're gonna have
First
this.
lady, another first lady.
Um, don't you love it? Don't you love it? Oh my God, we have covered so much, and I am just so enjoying this conversation. But I need to let people know where to find you. First of all, let me get out here and let me show what have I done? I'm doing something. Let me show everybody your book.
Okay.
And first of all, here's your children's book that you wrote in 2021. It is, let's see, it is Time to Eat, a first look at table manners. Malika Saban. It's for
Yes.
ages 3 and up. And I'm so glad you wrote that book. But that is available. Tell us where it's available. It's available on Amazon.
Yes, that's correct. Amazon is
Okay.
the best way, best and fastest way. We can go through the publisher if you have a large order,
Mhm.
but for smaller orders, yeah, Amazon will get it to you, the fastest.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I might have to get that book for my great granddaughters, because
Yes.
I love sharing the work that my friends have done. So I'm going to make sure that I share that with
Oh,
my
thank
granddaughter.
you.
So also, if they want to follow you, so on TikTok, you are your etiquette consultant, right?
Mhm, correct.
And on Instagram, you are manners still matter.
Yes,
Uh-huh. And then on Facebook, excuse me, please, etiquette.
that's it.
And then let's put your website up here. So if somebody wants to find you, they can find you there. So
That's it.
malikasavon.com. So again, you are such a wealth of information. So you're in Nashville. I'm gonna have to get you out to Kansas City, and we really need to do a manners thing for especially our young adult women.
Oh,
I
I'd love
think
to.
they're the ones that have struggled the most when it comes to that. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna get you to
I'd
Kansas
love
City,
to.
girl.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
I love it. So any parting words for our visitors today? What would you want to share about manners?
I just want to share that they're so important, and let's begin to really open up and kind of take manners back in. Uh, a lot of opportunities are out there for us, but because we either lack the confidence or the life skills, which is manners, we're not being afforded the opportunity. We're not getting that seat at the table that we rightfully deserve. The Bible says it's our portion. It is our portion. And so, but because we don't represent ourselves or speak up, or I have a lot of friends who are uncomfortable speaking well of themselves,
Hmm.
or saying what they do well because they don't want to come off as cocky. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, our gifts make room for us, the word says.
Amen.
And so we have to speak that. And so I just want to challenge everyone here that is watching to work on you. Work on you. Build up that confidence. Know exactly what you want to do, and just always put your best foot forward. Remember, everything doesn't warrant a response.
Hmm.
Everything doesn't warrant a response. Remember that,
That's right.
because a lot of times the responses are what gets us in trouble. And
Amen.
if we would just gracefully deal with whatever and trust that he will handle what needs to be handled, and we will always get our portion if we remain. I'm really big on
Mm.
being soft, even when someone else is going crazy. Just be soft, because it really makes them often realize how silly they're acting. So
Exactly.
remain soft, embrace manners. Everything doesn't warrant a response. And go ahead and take your seat at the table.
I love it. I love it. So you have been watching um, Asking for a Sister Friend, and we have been here with my wonderful guest, Malika Williams. And I always say this scripture, Proverbs 27:17 from the Good News Translation. People learn from one another just as iron sharpens iron. And you definitely have sharpened my iron on tonight. And I've learned some things. I'm going to practice some things as well, and I'm going to demand some things, especially from our young ladies,
Absolutely.
and teach some things. But again, I am going to get you out here in Kansas City one way or the other. So,
Okay.
everyone, this has been again Asking for a Sister Friend. If you're interested in being a guest on Asking for a Sister Friend, then please let me know. Visit pearlsperfectedinstitute.com. I am Dr. Janice R. Love,